In this lesson, I'll be telling you the signs of ism, fi'l, and harf, the signs of nouns, verbs, and particles. Knowing the signs will help you recognize and identify which word is ism or fi'l or harf. And then finally, we'll share some additional notes and rulings regarding ism or nouns that are important to know. So let's start off with the signs of a noun. These are the 12 signs of al-ism, the 12 signs of a noun. The first one is that it is preceded by an alif lam. For example, ar-rajulu, the man. So this is preceded by an alif lam, and that's a sign that this is an ism, a noun. Number two is it accepts jar. Jar means a kasrah on the last letter of a word. So for example, if you have the phrase fil bayti, you will notice that al-bayt, the last letter of it, gets a kasrah because of the fi. So that shows that al-bayt is actually an ism because it accepts jar. Number three is that there is tanween on the last letter. For example, rajulun. So there's a tanween on the last letter. A tanween can only come on an ism. It doesn't come on a fi'l or a harf. Number four is it ends with a round ta. For example, kalimatun. It is ending with a round ta. Number five is it is tathniya, dual. For example, rajulani, two men. And number six, it is jama, plural. For example, rijalun. Rijalun is the plural of man, which means men, so it's plural. The seventh is that it is a musnad ilayh, meaning a fa'il or mubtada. As we mentioned in the first lesson, musnad ilayh is basically a word about which information is given. Now the thing or object or person or place about which information is given could either be a fa'il or a mubtada, a doer or a subject. Example of a mubtada would be Zaydun qa'imun. Zayd is standing. So now Zayd here is the mubtada, and a mubtada is a thing which is musnad ilay. It's a thing about which information is being given. So that shows that it is ism. An example of a fa'il would be jalasa Zaydun. Jalasa Zaydun. Zayd sat. So now Zayd is the fa'il. He is the doer of the action of sitting. So therefore he is the musnad ilay, the person about whom information is being given. So that's why he is musnad ilay, and it is an ism. Number eight is that it is a mudaf, meaning that it's something that is possessed by someone else or something else. For example, kitabu Zaydin, Zayd's book. So now kitab is the mudaf. It's being possessed by Zayd, so that's why it's an ism. Number nine is that it is a mawsuf. Mawsuf meaning the thing or object or person or place being described by an adjective or by a sifa. For example, you have the example rajulun tawilun. Now tawilun is an adjective, it's a sifa, and the person being described by the word tawil is rajulun. So he is the mawsuf, and mawsuf shows that it is an ism. Number 10 is that it is a munada. Munada means being called, the person or thing being called. Normally it's a person. For example, if you say ya rajulu, oh man. So rajul, man, is the person being called, so that's why it's munada. Number 11 is that it is a musaghar. Musaghar is any expression or any noun which is used to describe the diminutive form of a noun, the smaller form of a noun. And normally this comes on the wazn or on the form of fu'ailun or fu'ailatun. For example, if you have the word dhahabun, dhahabun means gold. And the diminutive form or the musaghar of that would be zuhaybun on the wazn of fu'ailun. Zuhaybun means small gold. Or for example, you take the example رجل. رجل means man. The diminutive form of man, the small form of man, would be رجيل, which means small man. Or let's take another example. Asadun means lion. But if you want to take the diminutive form and transform it into small lion, you just make it into fu'ailun, which is usaidun. And so usaidun means small lion. So those are a few examples of musaghar. So any word which is musaghar has to be an ism. A fi'l or a harf cannot be musaghar. Number 12 is it is a mansub. Mansub is any ism which shows that it is attributed to some place or something else. For example, the word makkiyun. Makkiyun means Makkan, a person who belongs to Makkah. Or maybe Madaniyun, a person who belongs to Medina. Or Hindiyun, Indian. Or Amrikiyun, American. So these are all examples of ism mansub. And these are examples of musaghar. And the rest are pretty obvious. So all of these signs are of nouns, and they show any word that has any one of these signs would be considered an ism. If any word does not have any one of these signs, it's not going to be ism, it's going to be fi'l or harf. Now let's move on to the signs of a fi'l or a verb. These are the 9 signs of al-fi'l or verb. Now remember that these are signs which are only found in verbs and fi'ls. So if you see any one of these, it means that you found a fi'l. The first one here is that it is preceded by qad. Qad gives the meaning of has done right now, like in the recent but previously. So for example, qad kharaja means he has gone out. The second one is it is preceded by sa. Sa means soon. So let's say you have a word sayakhruju. This means he will soon go out. Number 3 is it is preceded by sawfa. For example, sawfa yakhruju, which means he will go out in a while. Sawfa means in a short while. Number 4 is it is preceded by harful jazm. Harful jazm is any particle which gives jazm or sukoon to the last letter of the fi'l. Now this obviously and the next coming up, which is harful nasab, these are all terminologies and we'll talk about them later. And also note that there are a lot of words that will be explained in the upcoming lessons. If we start explaining each one individually, it will take up too much time and maybe too much to process right now. So right now we'll just stick to the basics. So harful jazm is any particle which gives jazm or sukoon to the last letter of the fi'l. For example, there is a harf which is lam. Lam means did not. Lam yakhruj. Now notice that it was supposed to be yakhruju, but because of lam, it's lam yakhruj. The fifth one is it is preceded by harfun nasab. Again, harfun nasab is a particle, a harf, which gives nasab or fatha to the last letter of the fi'l it enters upon. For example, lan. Lan means never. Lan yakhruja. Lan yakhruja means he will never come out. Number 6 is it has a hidden dhamir, and we find this all the time in every single fi'l. For example, if you take the most basic, which is kharaja or daraba or nasara, anything, kharaja means, for example, he came out or he went out. So he is the dhamir, is the pronoun. Dhamir means pronoun, and we'll cover that in the next lesson. Number 7 is it is an amr, meaning an imperative command. For example, ukhruj. Ukhruj means get out. Number 8 is it is a nahi, prohibitive command. For example, لا تخرج, don't go out. And finally, the last one is it has a ta sakin at the end. At. For example, kharajat. Kharajat means she went out. So all of these signs are found in al-fi'l or in a verb. Any word that has any one of these signs is going to be considered to be a fi'l. So we covered the signs of ism, and we found out that ism had 12 signs. And right now we covered the signs of al-fi'l, the signs of a verb. And here are 9 signs of a verb. Finally, we move on to the signs of a particle. A harf or a particle only has one sign, and it's very simple. Any word which has no sign of an ism or a fi'l is a harf. That's how simple it is, which basically means that a harf or particle has no sign of its own. Now that we're done with the signs, I'll be sharing some general notes about ism or nouns. Now, all of these notes that are coming up are going to be random, so there doesn't have to be any connection between two notes, but all of them nevertheless are important and necessary to know. Number 1, an indefinite ism is called nakira. If a word's last letter has a tanween, then it is nakira. Number 2, a definite ism is called ma'rifah. If a word is preceded by an alif lam, it is ma'rifah, definite. Now, what does indefinite and definite mean? Indefinite means that you're talking about something random, something in general, which could be anywhere in the world. For example, if I say I kicked a ball, it could refer to any ball in the world. Definite, on the other hand, means that you're talking about something specific, something that's already there in the back of your head. For example, if I say I kicked the ball refers to a specific ball that's already in your mind as I'm talking about it. Either that or it's the proper name of a person, place, or thing. Obviously, if it's a proper noun, then you don't need to bring the English particle the, because the is there to make something specific, and proper nouns are already specific, so there's no need to make something specific. What you need to know here is that alif lam in Arabic is the English equivalent of the, and tanween in Arabic, which means double fatha, double dhamma, and double kasra, is the English or is the Arabic equivalent of being indefinite. So wherever you would bring a or an in English, that's where you bring a tanween on the last letter of a word. And wherever you would bring the in English, that's where you will be bringing the alif lam in Arabic. So let's go over both of these rules again. Number 1, an indefinite ism, noun, is called nakira. And the way to know this is that if a word's last letter has a tanween, then it is nakira. For example, let's take the word baytun. So baytun means a house. Now the tanween here shows that it is indefinite, meaning a house. Now let's look at the second rule. The second rule is a definite ism is called ma'rifah, proper. If a word is preceded by an alif lam, it is ma'rifah. That's how you know if it's ma'rifah. So let's take the same baytun and convert it into ma'rifah. The way you're going to do is as add an alif lam to the bayt. So now it becomes al-baytu. Al-baytu. Now the alif lam here shows that this word is definite. It means the house. Baytun means a house. Al-bayt means the house. Baytun is indefinite, it's nakira. Al-bayt is definite, it's ma'rifah. That takes us to number 3. An ism, noun, can never have a tanween and an alif lam at the same time. So you can't say, for example, al-baytun. You can't say al-baytun. You can't have alif lam plus tanween at the same time. They don't go together. Why? Because tanween indicates towards indefiniteness and alif lam indicates towards definiteness. So bringing them together would be contradicting and therefore incorrect. It would be like saying a the house or the a house, which, as you may most probably agree, sounds pretty ridiculous. Now let's move on to the fourth note. Number 4. When the last letter of a word and the first letter of the following word have sukoon, it is called ijtima'u sakinain, the meeting of two sukoons. Here's an example. ضربت البنت, which means the girl hit. ضربت is the first word. Its last letter, ta, has a sukoon. The next word is al-bintu. Its first letter, which in this case is lam, has a sukoon. So this here is called ijtima'u sakinain, or the meeting of two sukoons. In this case, the first sukoon is generally changed to a kasra. So now, ضربت البنت transforms into ضربت البنت. Also notice here that you will not pronounce the alif, which is in the beginning of al-bintu. Directly you're going to say ضربت البنت. Connect the ta to the lam. In some cases, the first sukoon is changed to a fatha. For example, min al-yabani, which by the way means from Japan, will change into min al-yabani. In some cases, the first sukoon is changed to a dhamma. For example, fahimtum ad-darsa, which by the way means you understood the lesson, will change to fahimtumud darsa. Now let's move on to number 5. But before we go on, you might be wondering, how do you know when and where the sukoon is going to change to a dhamma, fatha, or kasra? Honestly, there's no straightforward answer for that. There are reasons, but they're too complicated to be mentioned here. Plus, you'll probably get the hang of where to change the sukoon to which haraka just based on your Arabic instincts. So, no need to stress about it right now. Now let's move on to note number 5. When an alif lam appears before an ism or a noun, which begins with a letter from al-huruf al-shamsiyah, the sun letters, then the lam of alif lam must not be pronounced. The lam of alif lam will not get a sukoon. Instead, the harf al-shamsi, which comes right after the alif lam, will get a tashdid. First, let's understand what the sun letters are. What are al-huruf al-shamsiyah? These are al-huruf al-shamsiyah. If you read them from right to left, they are ta, tha, dal, dhal, ra, za, sin, shin, sad, dad, ta, za, lam, and noon. So if there's a word which starts with any of these letters called al-huruf al-shamsiyah, and there is an alif lam before that word to show definiteness, obviously, then you won't pronounce the lam in the alif lam. You won't say al. Instead, the harf al-shamsi will get a tashdid, and you're going to connect the alif directly to the harf al-shamsi, which has a tashdid. You're not going to pronounce that lam in the middle. For example, this word here in red is al-shajara. Al-shajaratu. But you're not going to pronounce this way because the real word is this. Shajara. This is just an alif lam. So this here is the actual word. Now shajara starts off with one of the letters of al-huruf al-shamsiyya, which is sheen. So now the rule is you're not going to pronounce the lam. Instead, you're going to take out that sukoon and you're going to give the sheen a tashdid. So now it becomes ash-shajaratu. Let's take another example. Now this word here is al-shamsu, the sun. But again, shams is the actual word which starts off with a sheen, which is from al-huruf al-shamsiyya, the sun letters, and there is an alif lam preceding it. So you're not going to say al-shamsu, instead you're going to give the sheen a tashdid. And now it becomes ash-shamsu. Same thing will happen with any word that is preceded by any of these al-huruf al-shamsiyya. When there is an alif lam that comes before it, you won't pronounce the lam. You will connect the alif directly with the actual word's first letter, which has that tashdid. Number 6. The remaining letters are known as al-huruf al-qamariyya, the moon letters. In these, if any word which starts off with al-huruf al-qamariyya, one of al-huruf al-qamariyya, has an alif lam before it, then the lam of alif lam will get a sukoon and will be pronounced. The harf qamari will not get a tashdid. For example, al-qamaru, the moon, or al-qalamu, the pen. Now let's move on to the 7th note. Number 7. Generally, an ism or any noun ending with a round ta, which is called at-ta'ul marbuta, is a mu'annath. It's a feminine noun. Any word that ends with a round ta is going to be considered a feminine noun. For example, sabburatun. Sabburatun means blackboard. Now sabburatun ends with a round ta, at-ta'ul marbuta. That's why when it comes, it's going to be considered as a feminine noun. Number 8. The sifa or ismul ishara or fi'l or al-ismul mawsul or khabar, etc. of a ghayrul aqil, non-human, plural, will generally be wahid mu'annath, singular, feminine. Now there are a couple of things to understand here. First of all, let's understand the terminologies. Sifa means adjective. Ismul ishara means any word which indicates towards something. For example, hada, this, hadihi, which also means this, dhalika, that, haulai, these, ulaika, those. All of these are ismul ishara. The third thing is fi'l, which means verb. Al-ismul mawsul refers to words like alladhi or allati, which mean the one who, or that which. Any word which connects something to something else is al-ismul mawsul. And finally we have khabar, which means predicate. So the sifa, ismul ishara, fi'l, ismul mawsul, khabar of a non-human plural will generally be wahid mu'annath, singular, feminine. Normally all of these things should have by default been plural because they're all related or connected to something plural. But that's not the case in non-human nouns. In ghayr aqil, in non-human nouns, their sifa, ism ishara, fi'l, ism mawsul, khabar, etc. will be wahid mu'annath, singular, feminine. I'll give you an example of each one. Let's start off with sifa. Asnamun kathiratun, many idols. Asnamun here is the plural of sanamun, which means idol. So this is the non-human plural. And its sifa, which is kathir, is coming as wahid mu'annath, kathiratun. So that's an example of sifa, coming as a wahid mu'annath for a non-human plural, which is asnamun. Now let's take an example for ismul ishara. هذه الأصنام, these idols. Again, same word here, al-asnamu, which is a non-human plural, al-asnamu. And then we have al-ismul ishara, ismul ishara, which is the word that is indicating towards al-asnam, these idols. So now هذه is singular, feminine, connected to a plural which is non-human. Now let's take an example of fi'l or verb being singular and feminine. الأصنام لا تنفع. Idols do not benefit. لا تنفع. So al-asnam is the non-human plural. لا تنفع is the fi'l. And as you can see, لا تنفع comes on the wazn of لا تفعل, which is singular feminine. It's واحد مؤنث. So here we have an example of fi'l being singular and feminine. Now let's take an example for الإسم الموصول. الأصنام التي, the idols which. Al-asnam is the non-human plural. Allati, which means which, is wahid mu'annath. It's singular feminine. Finally, let's have an example of khabar being wahid mu'annath. Al-asnamu kabiratun. The idols are big or large. Al-asnam is the non-human plural again. Kabiratun is the khabar, which is wahid mu'annath, singular feminine. Now let's make a mega mix out of all of these examples which incorporate all of these types. Sifa, ism al-ishara, fi'l, and ism al-mawsul, and khabar, so that you remember all of these in one example and it's easier for you to remember. هذه الأصنام الكثيرة التي لا تنفع كبيرة. These numerous idols which do not benefit are huge, large, or big. Here we have a non-human plural, a غير عاقل, which is al-asnam. This is the main subject of this sentence. Now the sifa or adjective of al-asnam here is al-kathira, which is wahid mu'annath. The ism al-ishara, that is pointing towards the non-human idols, al-asnam, هذه is also wahid mu'annath, singular feminine. The fi'l, which is related to al-asnam, la tanfa'u, is also wahid mu'annath. The al-ism al-mawsul, which means which is, allati, is also wahid mu'annath. And finally the khabar, which is kabira, is also wahid mu'annath. So al-asnam in itself is plural, but هذه الكثيرة التي لا تنفع and kabira, all of them are wahid mu'annath. So this is a good example of the fact that any sifa, ism ishara, fi'l, ism mawsul, khabar, etc. of a غير عاقل or non-human plural will generally be wahid mu'annath or singular feminine. Number 9. When writing an ism, a noun, ending with two fathas, double fathas, an alif must be added at the end. For example, Zaydan. Since there are two fathas at the end of the word, you're going to add an alif. However, if such a word, meaning a word that ends with two fathas, ends with a round ta, at-ta'ul marbuta, alif should not be added. You just leave the round ta, at-ta'ul marbuta there with the two fathas. There's no need to add an alif. For example, risalatan, which means message. Now since there's a round ta with two fathas at the end of risala, there's no need for an alif to be added. And that concludes our video. See you in the next video.